Do you want more success, more growth, more results? Then it's time for the Boundless Success Accelerator from the Modern Observer Group. This isn't your average coaching program. It's where top performers come to dominate. Weekly group sessions, on-demand coaching, a community that's got your back, and a power-packed library of tools to supercharge your business and career. No more excuses, no more waiting. Get in, level up, and start building the life you've been dreaming about. Visit us at modernobserver.com/boundlesssuccess to join today. Let's get you to the next level. Hello, and welcome to the Success Showcase, the podcast that helps you succeed in your business life and career. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin with the Modern Observer Group, and with me, as always, is Chip Januszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
I'm doing great. How about you, Eric?
Doing fantastic. You know, we are coming up on Labor Day already. I cannot believe the summer is almost over.
Yep. But every year when we're getting close to Labor Day, it's a great time of year in our house because my wife's birthday is August 28th. And I have remembered to send the card, buy the birthday present, and it's sitting right here under my desk where she won't look. So I'm all set for Thursday.
There you go. Safe and sound. No problems there. Fantastic. All right. So we've got a very special guest this week. Chip, why don't you introduce her?
Sure. I met Linda Albright several months ago at a chamber meeting, and Linda has got quite the career. I mean, if you take a look at her website or LinkedIn page, she's done a whole lot of different things. And when artificial intelligence came out, she latched onto that and has formed quite a business about artificial intelligence. And she recently did a seminar, both for a live networking meeting, which was recorded on Zoom, and you can look it up on YouTube for that. But she's just fantastic at what she's doing. And I have sat down with her a couple of times to talk about it. And so I said, "Do you want to do the podcast?" And she said, "Sure." Plus, I knew the two of you must need to know each other because you have a lot more going with that kind of stuff than I do. I'm still the real deal. What can I say? Anyway, I'd like to welcome you, Linda Albright. It's just so cool to have you on.
Thank you. I love being here today and how forward thinking you both are in all ways. So it's really a treat. Thanks.
Oh, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got into AI?
Yes, thank you. So I have been an entrepreneur, bootstrapping and building companies from the ground up for 25 years. And they've all been very tech related. So if I see a revolutionary technology coming down the highway, I think, whoa, that's really going to change what we're doing. And I usually adopt it, adapt it, and then I hold people's hands as they cross the bridge into the new tech. So for example, long time ago, a friend and I raised a bunch of money to get something off the ground no one had ever heard of called a .com, and they thought we were out of our minds. And of course, now you know that we were not out of our minds. We were just a little bit ahead. And that has been the story of my career. So that was called Web One. And we built that company very successfully. Fortunately, we sold it before the big crash of 2000. And then I looked around and saw something called Web Two coming down the pike. And that is the era we're sort of enmeshed in now with social media, internet marketing, things like that. So I got in and I either help other people build their businesses or I build my own business around it or a little bit of both. And then something called Web3 rolled around, and that's something that's a little less familiar to most people with blockchain and cryptocurrencies and all that kind of techie stuff. So I played around in that. But as I was playing around in that several years ago, I went, whoa, this AI thing is going to put all those revolutions to shame because it is going to transform every single aspect of our lives. So I jumped in, as I'm prone to doing. My mentor is actually the gentleman in the agency that does all of the AI for Richard Branson's companies. So I know that I was learning and am learning from the best. I did a 1-year immersion, which was like drinking from a fire hose. And I came out thinking, AI can go any which way, and I want it in the hands of the good people and of the people who are building businesses. Because the truth is, if you're not adopting and adapting it, you will get left behind, not just in personal life, but in business. So let me do what I can to arm the people who could really use it. And so that's what I'm up to now. I help our agency, Albright AI Agency, helps entrepreneurs and leaders figure out in this sea of dizzying options of AI where they should start and how they can use this. So that's a bit about me. I'm also a mother of three. And so as I've been building businesses, I've been building a family, and many people know what that's like. It's just nuts, but it is what it is. Very blessed.
That's fantastic. And, there is so much going on with AI. It is a game changer. But you also have a very unique perspective in that you're looking at the human side of AI. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you for that distinction. So I have two sides to the way I approach the world and my businesses. One is, yes, tech and tools and systems that are needed, right? But the other side of that is sort of the soulful human touch part. And one without the other just isn't as effective. If you just do tools and practicality and sort of the bro code, as we call it, no offense to the wonderful gentleman, women could do bro code stuff too. You might make good use of the tools, but it might run rampant, or it might not be AI for good. On the other hand, if you're just thinking about soulful human aspect of things, that's beautiful, but you may not be effective in business or in the world. But when you blend the two, that's when you are full steam ahead. So I think, Chip and Eric, that I'm not just a certified AI consultant, I'm actually a certified yoga teacher. So I believe in the human touch plus the tools, and the systems plus the soulfulness. And that seems to be, especially right now, as AI poses somewhat of a question mark or a threat, some might think. How do we keep our heads about us? Or how do we make sure that AI doesn't eat us for lunch? And so that's where I come in.
Yeah, the human aspect of it is so important, if for no other reason than to make sure Hal can open the Bombay doors. And I'm dating myself, I know, with that reference, but AI really is changing everything we do. So how do you advise people on keeping that human side when they're inundated with the technology?
Yeah, gosh, that's like the heart of the question, right? How do we keep AI for good? How do we keep our heads about us with tools that can literally write better than I can? I used to be a good writer, and now I can write better than I can. I think it's all in how we view it, meaning AI could replace me as a writer, or it could be my secret genius in my back pocket, right? AI can make me more efficient, or it can completely like it can make me more efficient with my customers, or it can replace me for my customers. I don't want it to replace me. But for example, what I want it to do is make me more available to my clients. And so maybe something, for example, like a customized Linda chatbot who's available at 2 in the morning to answer questions would be a great addition to human Linda, who can actually answer questions during the daytime. So it's all in how we look at it, as opposed to, oh, great, this is going to replace me so I can, I don't know, fill in the blank. Um, and a lot of people are concerned that it's going to replace all these jobs, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But the beauty is that, can you imagine a world in which all the stuff we hate to do, AI can do? And so what does that free you up to do? The creative, the dreaming, the imaginative, the resourcefulness that we sometimes just don't have time to fit into our busy schedules because there's just all this grunt work to do. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that you bring out the point that, people are afraid that AI is going to take away jobs. Well, guess what? It is going to take away jobs, but it's also going to create a whole new category of jobs. And you know what? The internet did this before AI did, and the personal computer did it before the internet did,
Exactly.
and the assembly line did it before the personal computer
Exactly.
did.
Yeah.
Technology always changes things, and people do have a tendency to go to fear first. I mean, going back to the Industrial Revolution, when all these things were going to change, these jobs were going to go away. Well, yes, jobs went away. I'm sure that the last buggy whip manufacturer in America made a fantastic product, but there was no longer a need for it. But of course, then all of these car manufacturers came along and you needed new skills. How do you recommend that folks keep their skills up to date so they can focus on the opportunities of the technology rather than the fear?
Another great question. So I've always been very practical and problem solving oriented. Perhaps it's my startup experience. Like we just don't have the liberty to like focus on things that aren't hot and a problem. So I like to take that approach with AI because I'll be honest, I mean, we all know how overwhelming it is. I'm in the AI space and it's overwhelming for me and I'm a techie, right? So I like to get practical, which is what's the biggest challenge that you're facing in your business or your organization that you're leading, and just start there. Because if you can get a couple quick wins and get some momentum, then you can build from there. You can't do it all at once. So most people now are using ChatGPT. So everybody kind of has the thrill of ChatGPT or Claude or some other version. So imagine if you used it at the next level. Maybe you're using it to revise your emails or to write your proposals, which is fabulous. And so now take a problem, a sticky part in your life or your business, and see what you can do next. And that's all. It's just building blocks. It's just laying the bricks one on top of the other. Bigger organizations, if they want to bring, somebody like me in or one of my colleagues, we can take a high view and kind of map out a full workflow of how your business can really up level it, in a bigger way. But if you're just independent and you're looking to how do I skin this cat, pardon me for that analogy, just look at what needs solving and start that. Because here's the crazy thing about AI is if you can think of something that you want solved or to do, AI can do it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's easy, but it can. And as someone else pointed out to me, not only can AI do the things you can think of, AI can do things you haven't thought of. So you also want to be engaged with it, like, hey, what else you got on this? And I'm sure many of you have experienced like, wow, I didn't think of that. So yeah.
Yeah, I have found AI to be invaluable as a brainstorming tool because it literally is a very different perspective. So I can toss some things into it, it'll toss things back, which will make me go, oh, wait a minute. That I didn't think of it that way. Let me see where this leads. And it is a very useful tool. But like most tools, and like most things we talk about on this podcast, whether it's how to change your life, your business, your career, all of these things, it doesn't work unless you approach it with an actual strategy. You need to understand what it is you want it to do and what you want to get out of it before it can generate miracles for you.
Exactly. And so, for example, that's such a great ninja approach. So, for example, a lot of business people that I work with, they would love to get more leads. Okay, great. So, lead generation is one problem that AI can absolutely solve and help, improve. I also had somebody else who needed to streamline a workflow, a social media workflow that was so cumbersome. I'm sure we all know what that feels like. And so we saved her about 10 hours a week on her workflow. So to really just get practical, and I wouldn't actually expect most people to know how to do workflows or string things together. But if you at least have the interest, you can start poking around at different tools that make things easier. And like I said, everybody now versus 9 months ago has had some sort of excitement and exciting win with AI. You're like, wow, look at that. And I like what you said, Eric. I consider it to be collective wisdom as opposed to artificial intelligence because it's it's collective wisdom. It's everything that's ever been, they're using our intelligence, and as we engage with AI, we are training it on our viewpoints. So it really is a collective wisdom, which is wild. And you all probably know that at this point, every vertical or subject matter has a PhD level intelligence. And I don't have a PhD. I have a master's in something, not a PhD in anything. So that's pretty cool, Yeah.
Yeah, what you can do with AI really is only limited by your own imagination. And sometimes it can be something that sounds very simple, but you may not be able to do it another way. I'll give you a personal example. I had a project where I had to find specific events online. Now, you go to Google, you type in the topics, all of this, except the events that I needed to find had very specific parameters, and none of the search engines could figure out how to do it. I was able to write a prompt in AI that went out onto the web, found the data I needed, sorted it into the format that I provided for it, and it literally cut what would have taken me a week to a couple of hours.
I know, isn't that just the coolest thing ever? And I know you know this hack, Eric, but maybe the audience doesn't know the hack. Because I've spent a lot of time learning about proper prompt engineering, et cetera, et cetera. All you need to do is tell ChatGPT what you're looking for and say, write me a prompt.
Yes.
And then you put that prompt back into ChatGPT. Like you don't even have to be a prompt engineer yourself. It's layer upon layer of surprises. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
Now that said, I do want to tell a story about, as we know, it's not perfect. It's not always accurate.
no,
So,
no, it's not.
right. So I know Chip knows this. I was blessed to spend about 5 weeks in Italy last spring, and ChatGPT was my tour guide. It was phenomenal. It mapped out things for me, to show me the top 10 medieval castles I need to see. And it would do that, or, just translate this poster for me, all kinds of assistance. But I did have it translate this one poster for me because my Italian is not so good, right? And I thought it said there was some sort of musical event down the street. And there was. And what chat told me 3 times was that this musical event down the street had jazz, open air band type of thing. It had food, it had drinks, it was fabulous. And I kept looking at the poster. I know a little Italian. I'm like, really? Are you sure? 3 times back and forth. It finally literally said to me, oh, you're right. That's not what I just told you it is. It's this instead. And then it actually had the audacity or the humor to say, my idea sounds like a lot more fun. Sorry. It's like, wow. So trust and verify. Right? So.
Yes, and that's so important. It's become almost folklore now, but there was a paralegal who used AI to create her legal briefs and put the legal briefs together, complete with citations, handed it to the judge. The judge looked it over and went, these cases don't exist.
Right.
She never checked it. And she got reamed by the judge for doing this. And
Yeah.
when I train people on using AI on the basics, I tell them you need to treat AI like an intern. You give it an assignment, you check the assignment, and then you go, this is what I wanted, or this is not what I wanted. Redo it with XYZ. And you may have to do this several times before you actually get the result you want.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, we all know, as they're called hallucinations. They say that as the new models come out, the errors will be fewer and far between, but I still wouldn't trust it 100% to go in front of a court case, or if you're, having it decode a poster for you, just double check. Or you know what? It was so funny. It actually screwed up my train times in Italy. And that's my bad. Like I was just like, tell me what time the train leaves for such and such. And it told me, but I didn't check. And of course I was there early, not late. And so it's like, why am I here an hour early? It's like, oh, because I didn't verify. But yeah.
Well, AI is amazing, but it's only as good as the information put into it. And now most of the AI models are actively searching the web for their data. Well, guess what? There's a lot of bad information on websites, and AI still does not have the ability to know which information it's getting is real and which isn't.
Well, not only that, but then you get into the whole censorship and IP
Yep.
issues. I mean, this is such a Pandora's box, as well as, one of the greatest inventions ever, or discoveries, it's been around a long time, but these new types of AI, generative AI, there's stuff called agentic AI, there's emergent AI, there's all kinds of AIs coming out now. Yeah, just I think here's the bottom line. We don't abdicate or give up our own brilliance for technology. We just let it help us be better, smarter, faster, but we don't abdicate our power to it. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here absorbing because I'm the person who's invited you on the show, and yet I've never used it. But I have talked to you about it, and I've talked to Eric about it. And as Eric knows, for the last dozen years, and I think I told you too, Linda, that I've been working on my book, and obviously that's changed over the years as far as the approach to that. But basically, I have the whole thing outlined and so on and so forth. And you know what Eric told me, and you reiterated this is what I should do is I'm taking my bullet points and then I'm going to write that stuff in there and I'm going to see where it takes me. But obviously, yeah, I talk about my four P's: purpose, passion, positivity, and a plan. This plan part about it, I talk about basically your personal plan and your plan for your business, but this takes that planning part and adds a whole new dimension to that as far as what you can do. And obviously, it can be intimidating, but it also can be a whole lot of fun. And Bob Dylan wrote a song in the 60s said the times they are changing, and it just goes on and on and on. And it's been going on since mankind started walking the earth. So this is really, really interesting to listen to. And what I have to do is just what most other people who are out there who are intimidated by it have to do, and that's just dive in and do something, hopefully directed by somebody like you or Eric who knows what they're doing. But it's there, it's not going away, and it can be of great help. And yes, there's always negative sides to everything, but choose the positive stuff. Obviously, I think I built a business about that.
Well, Chip, I love that because you've done the brunt of the work. Obviously, it's your life's, it's your magnum opus. And I think in that case, what AI can do is come up with ways to expand it, to mold it, to get it out in the marketplace that you don't. So, I actually have colleagues. We're the wild, AI nerds who have teams, which are called custom GPTs, which some of you know what those are. That those are you can customize parts of, say, chat GPTs. I think it's only chat GPT to operate in certain ways. So you can have a marketing team member, you can have a PR team member, you just sort of train it in what you want it to do. And before you know it, you've got a whole team that's helping you get your book and your work out there. So yeah, you don't have to hide, you don't have to go find a PR agency. You've got one at your fingertips. Not that it's not good to hire humans. That's important. Here's the thing is really exciting is as AI takes over a lot of the grunt work, there's going to be a huge need for creative high-level strategy. And AI can enhance our creativity, but I don't think it replaces human strategy. I just don't. So yeah.
No, I've been working with AI fairly extensively, and the one thing that I have noticed is that it's not creative.
Right.
It can take from all sorts of sources and mix things together in different ways. But if you're trying to, say, write a fiction novel, ChatGPT is never going to be able to write the fiction novel that you want to write. It can create something that resembles a fiction novel, but it's not going to be what you sat down to write. So there's a lot that it can't do and a lot that it can. But you've said this a couple of times so far is, it's really great at the grunt work. And one of the things that was actually one of the first things that I started using it for extensively was I took chapters from my first book, fed it into a custom GPT, and said, create PowerPoint presentations about this, create courses out of this, so that I did not have to reinvent the wheel. I'd already created all the content. It could reformat it for me in all sorts of ways.
Exactly. I mean, that's phenomenal, right? And the beauty is that, You have really important work, Eric, to get out there. So if you have to toil away and spend weeks or months trying to do this, it's just those are weeks or months that the world doesn't get to taste, what you have. I'll give you an example as well. I was working with a brilliant entrepreneur who's based out of France, and he's one of the top mentors for business in France. And he has wonderful curriculum, hours and hours written and videos and all kinds of curriculum. And he wanted to bring it to the States. Well, guess what? Not only can you do translation, through books and all the copy, but he literally had hours and hours and hours of video trainings. And with some AI tools, you've probably played with them, Eric, at some avatar tools, we were able to instead of him speaking in French, he has a British accent.
Yeah.
And it's flawless. The only problem is I said, what happens if someone goes to your YouTube and they see that you're actually native French and here you are with a British accent, but that's just something we'll deal with later or we'll just tell people. But I mean, how beautiful, because now his work, that we call it the go-to-market strategy, has been shaved by months, if not a year, to enter into the US. It's unbelievable.
It is really amazing. And, in that same vein, I was talking to someone last month who was giving a live presentation and virtually, not in person, but they had an AI tool that in real time translated what he was saying into 7 different languages. So he was able to give his talk in English, and people all over the world were able to hear it at the same time he was speaking, but in their own language.
Yeah, I think that's Wordly. I know of the guys who that might be the one you're thinking of who invented that. And it's revolutionary. Like, wow, you know? Yeah. So very exciting.
It is. And, there's so much that's going on with data analysis with AI and, again, taking over a lot of the grunt work. But when you think about it, and going back to what we were saying earlier about AI taking jobs, all of the time that you're not spending on these nitpicky details of changing formats and translating into another language and transcribing things frees you up to do so much more. So I think rather than looking at AI as something that's going to take jobs and, oh, it's change, it's fear, we really need to look at the possibilities of what it's going to allow us to become.
Absolutely. I was on a panel last week at a conference about the workforce and the different, the changing workforce. And my insights from my colleagues that were on the panel as well as my own were that is AI going to take your job? Maybe, maybe not. Someone who knows AI will definitely probably take your job.
Yes.
But what some of these companies are doing now is, okay, you don't have to spend 10, 20 hours a week on the stuff that used to do that because AI can do that. So let's put you over here and let's look at the business problems we need solved. And you're a really sharp team member. So just go. And so the most effective companies, I'm talking about $30 million companies, $20 million companies, that's what they're doing. They're using these tools to alleviate the grunt work and they're using the talent to solve bigger problems that don't have time to solve. So that's exciting.
It really is. And again, it's going to change everything. But the one thing it's not going to do is change time, which we are now out of. So
Not yet. Can't change
so
it yet. Yeah, we'll see.
can't change that. So before we wrap up, Linda, if our listeners want to get more information on what you do, reach out. How can they do so?
Thank you, Eric. I simply albrightai.com. So ALBRIGHT AI.com. That's my agency website. You can hit the contact form or you can just email me. And I would love to support anybody, just have a chat with anybody who's dipping their toe in or is all the way in and just wants, some clarity. So thank you.
Fantastic. Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway this week?
I got a lot of homework. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I love starting with the human approach because that's what it's all about. And again, people can be intimidated by things. I use my 4 Ps for purpose, passion, positivity, and plan. For anything new that comes out, an idea, you got 2 Ps, positivity or paranoia. And the bottom line here, I look at AI plus OI, which is original intelligence, which is our own minds, as being a fantastic combination for moving ahead. But as everything is, it's our choice to do that. So, you know what I'm saying? Choose positivity. Thanks so much for being here.
Love it.
I learned so much from you, and I'm looking forward to moving ahead. And with my book being a handbook more, it should be a lot easier for it to decipher that because I don't need that creativity. It's just there.
Perfect. Can't wait to see. And Chip, hit me up anytime. Right.
Yeah, I think for me, the big takeaway is that, yes, we do have to put a human side into AI. I mean, you don't, for, forgetting all the science fiction movies where AI goes crazy, there is a human element that has to be in everything we do. And that includes what we do with AI. But as Chip was saying with, positivity versus paranoia, it is so important to look at this as potential. Not only is AI going to get smarter, but we have that same capability. We can increase our own intelligence and keep up with it, not be afraid of it. While it's taking care of the nitty gritty grunt work and some of the details, we can be reaching out further than we ever thought possible. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch every episode at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. We'll see you then.